Hmm. Hmm. What to do, my people, man? Welcome to another edition of It Is I. If you don't know who your boy is, King Crowder, your host, to another edition to Live on Sunday. The reason why I love to do this on Sunday, man, is kind of a spiritual, mental thing, right? If you did not know, make sure my phone on silent, y'all. My bad. I usually have it on sleep mode and ready to go. But if you did not know, man, Sunday is actually your first day of the week. Sunday is that time of the week where you mentally get yourself sharp. Sunday is that period of reflection. Sunday is that period of, man, what am I gonna do? How everything looking? Sundays when you gotta have that meal prep done. Sunday is that time where you check on your people. Sunday is just that time where we as the Crowded Gang get what we supposed to get. So I want to thank y'all for being here. If you're new, comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Man, if you did not know, y'all, this is the last day of the first 6 months of 2024. Your first 6 months of the year, hopefully they have incredible. Hopefully half the things you did on that resolution list that we always do, you got them in motion, you got them going, and you got them things moving in the right direction. Hopefully now you have made some similar progress to the things that you want to happen, and now you are beginning to see the fruits of your labor with that. That's all this day and what this meaning should be. So today is kind of symbolic in both ways. Remember, we start off this is the first day of the week if you ain't know. We already in July. Today, right now, we spend time on reflecting, projecting, and seeing what the future may hold. Again, thank you for being here, man. How was your weekend? My weekend was kind of smooth. Let's start it off, man. We had our mid-year marriage retreat. Look, you know, my wife really big in planning and make sure stuff is in order, y'all. I actually need to write something. Like, you know, I always do my book. Shout out to things just now finished up, cooking up, promo coming out, things you should have taught us. But I'm also need to write one about marriages, man. And the one thing we don't talk about with relationships the most, y'all, is making sure as the man you have your forecast down pat. You got to be able to talk just about business, not just the relationship part, man. But what y'all doing? What at work, mentally, socially, how you feeling? How is everything that y'all been working on? Where is it looking like this year? 2024 is your partner hitting everything they wanted to reach. Do you need to do something differently as the man? Do you gotta let them work less? Do you gotta work more? Do y'all gotta save more money? Do we gotta have more date nights? Do the schooling that she was working on, is it going straight? How do you vision your birthday this year? How do you want the holidays this year to be spent? Everything that we see at the heart of our problems and our struggles, we call it a retreat, but really, man, it's a time where y'all just get together away from. I mean, it could be a beach trip, hotel, away from the house. You need that time where y'all rubbing each other down, massages, hugging, kissing, loving, just being isolated. We don't use those words. We always talk about vacations, right? I gotta travel, I gotta go somewhere exclusive. I think that's important too. But when you have that retreat where you get together, y'all, that's when you and your partner actually refocus and reset. So what we did was that, and I think I actually need to write something about that, because a lot of people talk about the success of their relationship, but they don't understand that's the core of it. If you want a strong relationship, man, you got to make sure you have that point where y'all checking in about business and each other. And when you got that core intact, everything else is easier because you know what's going on. The business side, the money side, the financial, the relationship, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the issues you talking about. I learned, man, I gotta make sure I get more flowers. Something that she want to do now, I'm gonna make sure this week from now on, I make sure I have a fresh one in there. Little things like that. You feel me? That is, you get that 180-year marriage that we see our people's head, because you cannot have no family because we know the baby mom, baby daddy thing don't work. Let's keep it real. You know, I always keep it real. So you can lay up, you can have fun, but if you want something strong and successful, you got to make sure your core and your principles are right. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna encourage everybody to do something like that, man. You ain't gotta spend a lot of money. Go where you need to go, where you can reset, hotel, whatever. It is a point and period. And I need to break it people with how we do it, man. Because I think we kind of innovative with it, but I think proper instruction motivate people. People need written down. If you need guidance, I get it. And you know, as someone that's kind of successful, I mean, you know, who knows what that looks like, right? But I believe definitely we need to give the game to people, man. Because if it ain't given, then you're going to have to fail and retry like we had to. And I don't think it needs to be given. Like I said, I had excellent parents that showed us the breakdown. But I also saw how that didn't work if you did not have that time. So you got to create your time. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and dive into our first subject for tonight. Man, the world saw that Trump v. Biden debate, right? The world did. Everybody know, but I don't think we knew how bad our boy Biden looked, right? Let's just keep it real right now. He looked like he had a stutter problem. He looked like he was not on top of his game. And he looked like he didn't need to be out there. That's the truth. Democrat, Republican, I don't care what, I don't care. I'm hyper local, whatever your state is, that's what you should be focusing on first. But that was the first noticeable thing to me. The second thing that was most noticeable to me, man, that nobody else wanted to mention, hey, what's up, huh? Is that we don't think about how much politics influences us. Politics, if you did not know, I want to break this down. Politics is the study of who gets what. Let me say it again. Politics is the subject and the field of who gets what. That's all it is in its simplest form. I believe for us to have an understanding from a base level, you need to make sure you know what that subject is about. So whenever you hear politics being discussed, you got to know that these two people, these candidates, are discussing a point of view and who gets it. So if you know that going in, you must know then that you must be aware of what do you get? One, what am I getting? Am I getting my best interest when I vote, when I speak, when I have a point of view? Number two, you have to understand there is no loyalty. Let's get that out the window. Nobody has loyalty. It is the subject of who gets what. Number three, vote for your best interest. What? Vote for your best interest. I'm not telling you how, why, or who to vote for, but I want to tell you to be open, to be aware, and to know what people are talking about when they are talking to you. I use the subject that God forgives. Trump don't, because man, that man Trump, love him or hate him. You don't have to like him. You don't have to respect him, but you got to respect the man's work ethic and what he's trying to do. This is not a pro-Trump broadcast. This is a, man, I see what's going on broadcast. That's all you need to understand. Your political ideology is you. I don't try to mold people, but what I try to do is make you aware of why these subjects are important. In doing that show, it was 4 major points that really got down to me that I want to hit on. Black jobs. You know, it was very much trending and talked about this week. The subject of black jobs. You know what's kind of funny is that we try to categorize something as a black job rather than stating this is an American job that you qualify for. Now, there are stereotypical jobs that many black Americans do work at this time, which is true. But historically, and looking at the things that we did, we have to understand that everything is a black job. The difference that we see right now is that we have a lot more issues coming about that makes it difficult. What are you saying, King Crowder? What do you mean by that? Let's go ahead and look at it. You naming anything in America, I can name you a black American that had a historical charge in it. Doctors, surgeon, engineers, sociologists, psychologists, social worker. All the fields have been touched. What we do not have is we have a less emphasis in some of those things that were emphasized 50 years ago. What do I mean by that? Blue collar workers, skillmen, craftsmanship have really been taken out of our school system and really be decentralized. Now we see more other populations, first generation Americans, different people from different places coming here, taking up those skilled trades because we did not emphasize that the way our fathers did. These are facts. Now we are seeing that it was an overemphasis on education. Now there's a transition back to doing that. College is important. We know that, right? We understand the benefits and breakdown of colleges. But if you actually meet an average 21 and under year old man right now, they want to go on a blue collar engineer or something like that, which is very admirable. And I think that's an incredible thing. Many of them do not have that ideology anymore. You meet young men that want to go out, work at the longshoreman, work on the oil fields. You hear them speaking of that. A lot of them use the words that college is a scam. So we got to understand that perspective on what was once successful in America is not the same anymore. It's completely different. Now that we know it's completely different, we have to address those focal points of those issues in a completely different manner. What do I mean? Politically, you should always lean into local first. Who is your alderman? Who is your sheriff? Who is your tax assessor? Who is your DA? Who is your judge? Who is your mayor? Those are your priorities first. Where you live in your local election, who are these individuals that have these positions? What do they stand for? How are they going to your area? What are they going to be doing inside of your area in your side of town? Politically, remember, it is the subject of who gets what. So as we know who gets what, your focus and where you live should be the priority. Step one. Step two, then you move to the state level. Who is your senator? Who is your congressman? Who is yada, 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 yada? Who is your state chairman? Whatever you want to go into. Those are the branches of government and how the priority of focus needs to be channeled. Your midterms, your state, then your federal. Your local, your midterms, your state, then your federal. Those are how you need to focus, ladies and gentlemen. So when you hear these things about the presidential election, even though it's catchy, it's very buzzword, it's important, that's not your focus. Local, midterm, then federal. Local, midterm, then federal. Local, midterm, then federal. My closing thoughts on why this subject needs to be revamped and talked so much about it is because we have issues in our areas. Many of us live in different parts of America, right? I live in Texas. Man, our roads are horrible in certain parts of town. Our street lights, our potholes, our speed limits, our lack of police presence, our overemphasis of police presence in some, our lack of police effort that we see in certain parts of this place. We need to overemphasize those. Do we need to increase their pay rate and minimize something else? What do we need to do to get these people, these young men and women, in these careers where they feel loved and accepted? Does the pay have to increase? Does the workload have to lighten? Do we need to have more of a pro-officer campaign in this country to make them feel more accepted? Something has to change. Locally, that's where my mind is at. Then it goes to state, then it goes to nationally. When you hear these subjects about Donald Trump and them, it's all talking, right? Donald Trump is a great salesman. His campaign has to be one of the most followed one that we must study in modern time. Make America great again, whatever the slogan is, help America out, America first. You got to give him credit. He's galvanized his base. Yes, it's racist, we know. Yes, it is that way. We make it come out. You could love, you could hate it, you could strongly dislike the man. But what you got to understand is that when you hear these political assumptions, y'all, make sure your issues, your status, and your thoughts come first. My closing thought, vote in your local elections first. Vote at your state election second. Vote at your national and presidential election last. Next, we got to discuss this subject that I found fascinating. If you do not know, ladies and gentlemen, LeBron James' son, known as LeBron James Jr., aka Bronny, got drafted this weekend to go to the NBA. It was controversial. Bronny James, son of LeBron James, man. LeBron James Jr. was drafted as a second-round pick in the NBA draft. The 55th pick by the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers knew that LeBron James Jr. was going to be there and they were going to counteract him. Why is it such a big deal? A word that kept coming up during this entire time was nepotism. And it was funny to hear that because as someone that had multiple jobs, lived in multiple places, worked around the United States, I see nepotism all the time. Never once in my mind will I ever hear it used or categorized so much against an individual. I want to say this. I don't know why LeBron gets so much hate, but he does more than the average athlete. LeBron is a very polarizing figure. I understand his history. I understand his remarks. I understand the way you may feel. But LeBron, the family guy, I do not understand why he gets hate. I don't. He's an active father who's not raised with one. He's a self-made billionaire. He's the greatest athlete of a generation. Me, in my opinion, the greatest basketball player ever. He's been a loyal father, a loyal husband, a loyal, all of these things. And he provided his son an opportunity like many other people do. Why is it so polarizing of an issue that in the second round of the NBA draft, Bronny James was selected? Why? I know why. It's because of LeBron James. LeBron James could scream loud, and some of y'all would hate it. LeBron James could say America first, and other people will say, why I gotta be America first? Why can't it be the world first? I swear, man. The LeBron James level of hate he gets is unreal. Let's keep it frank. No matter where you work, no matter where you live, you see nepotism. There was a word thrown out about black nepotism. Show me where it is. Show me. I can show you many white nepotism. I can show you many other form, Hispanic, Asian. I see all the time. I don't think it's shade. I don't even think it's a bad thing. I think it is just what it is. There was a hierarchy chart shown about Jerry Jones and his kids, his sons and his daughters working for the Dallas Cowboys. He has all of them in executive positions. Nobody called that nepotism. Bill Belichick has hired his sons on his staff as a coach. Nobody called that nepotism. Andy Reid, all type of the Bus family. You can keep going down the list. Why is what LeBron James did such a polarizing issue? Why? Can I go into it honestly? We still have a problem talking about race with people pulling power moves. Let's be frank. We had our organization, right? Brothers Building Connections in Houston. Shout out to everybody that came out. Great event at Top Golf. I should have plugged it out, plug it in later. The one thing I had to say to most brothers, why do we feel a competitive nature amongst most brothers? Why is it that we don't look at each other as completion? Why is it competition? Multiple answers came up, right? Number one, we were socialized to be that way. Fair. Number two, many of us were raised by our mom, and many women look at each other as competition. Fair. Number three, many of us were not raised by our fathers, and we don't look at other brothers as an asset. We look at them first as competition. Fair again. The last and final point I heard when discussing that topic, why do most brothers doubt each other? Where is the camaraderie? We don't know how to. My thoughts immediately for it, y'all, let me start it off, is that we got to unlearn it. Let me write that down. It's a word, y'all, I read by Humble the Poet. It's a book by him. Unlearn, right? And in this book, I loved it because I never heard that word unlearn before. Unlearn is when you learn something that was beneficial to you at one point in life, right? That now you are at this level, this activity, this source, this place in your life. Everything that you learn is no longer useful. So if you lived in LA and you lived in wherever you live and people were your enemy, unlearn it. I lived in rural county and I learned that your word and what time you showed up mattered more than anything. Unlearn it. I learned that people keep their word and it means everything to them. And if you don't, it's a stain against your family. Unlearn it. Anything that you learn negatively about most brothers to brothers impact, unlearn it, brother. Everything you learn from that point of view that was negative or had a negative connotation, now that you are a grown man, you cannot. It is your responsibility to educate yourself and figure out how to get past it. Now that you are aware that that habit that I was self-taught, uneducated on as a man or a grown woman, you got to unlearn it. How do you unlearn it? How does that happen, King Crowder? Can you teach me? Of course. Step 1, acknowledge the problem. Acknowledge that there's an issue going on and I know it's there, but I'm going to discuss it openly. Why? It helps you name it. It makes you aware when it pops up. It shows to your mind that this behavior is unacceptable. Step 1, acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge your problems and you do not try to hide them, your mind will try to figure out ways to solve them. Step 2, realize that you're not going to get it perfect, but you're going to make corrective action. Hey, I wake up late and I want to wake up earlier. I need to try to go to sleep earlier. Hey, I tend to overeat when I do this. I'm going to try to stop overeating. I tend to smoke a cigarette every time I get stressed. Hey, I got to figure out a better way to deal with my stress. You must figure out a way to circumvent and unlearn that habit that you got. You got to. Because if you go through life looking at all brothers as competition instead of completion, you will lose. If you want to keep losing, if you want to continue to not have these good connections, if you want to continue to keep having problems, you will look at other brothers as competition. And that is something that you must unlearn. Step 3, once you begin to make progress on it, track yourself. Monitor yourself. Watch and see how much progress is going to grow and how better you are doing week to week. If you do this for a month, you will unlearn that habit. It is that simple to unlearn something. Unlearning something is a traumatic effect that you had and you still deal with. Now, you must say the trauma, release the trauma, and understand that it may not be perfect, but you'll figure out a way to live with it. Once you figure out a way to live with it, then you can figure out how to master it. Once you figure out how to master it, then you can figure out how to keep going with it. But no brother that you meet is your competition. The only competition you have is with the man or woman in the mirror. Not with me, not with you. I don't look at anybody as my competition. Why? Because I have my own story. And I know if I look for external validation, I won't be as motivated. I have to be self-motivated. When I get out of bed, nobody got to go after it. I tell myself. Because if you look at external motivation, when they stop, you stop. No. Inside of you, you got to train your mind, which is step by step, that I got to keep working. That's the problem we got with Bronny, y'all. We have to unlearn those bad habits as looking at brothers It's competition. Once you mentally unlearn that, then your mind will start to change. Because Bronny's a 19-year-old young man trying to get an opportunity. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of our generation, using his influence, his social standing, his wealth to get his son an opportunity. Don't we all wish we had the same? Don't we all wish that would happen and we get blessed the same way? Don't we all want to do that for our future children or current children? We all want the same thing. So why is it such a big deal? It's such a big deal because we got to unlearn those stereotypes of other black men being our competition. And that's my final point on that one. Moving on. Next. I had another great topic, y'all. Shout out to the plug. I didn't plug it right. Black Men Building Connections, y'all. We had another great trip this weekend at Top Golf. Top Golf was so impactful, y'all. It was good because we talked politics. That's why I led into my first subject today, right? Along with the debate. But we also talked about the ability to communicate that information. You don't realize it. As a man, you have a wealth of knowledge, right? But with that wealth of knowledge, how do you then transfer it? How do you get other brothers hip? How do you bridge that gap? How do you continue to get that influence? How do you continue to develop that connection with people? That's the first step that many people, black in Houston, Texas, got to get to. My opinion. Speaking towards the man specifically, we got to figure out that border, box out that we have. How do we connect it? How do we find the usefulness with each other? How do we get that love and impact, no matter what that brother's background is? How do we on each other? Once we figure out that, then the usefulness, the wealth, the building, the general, all that stuff, the buzzwords we hear can happen. But it must start with one dominoes. What's that first domino? Love, admiration, connectedness, welcomeness, openness, communication, and trust. And the reason why I thought this subject was so good, y'all, I'm going to put it on the thing right there. Step man. It is a huge difference between the country and city black, right? And it was a great conversation, y'all. As someone I could say that grew up on the other side of America, the one thing that is very noticeable in the city side of America, and I'm going to speak specifically for my community, right, is that many of us have a natural distrust. Many of us are much more cautious. Many of us are much more doubtful. Many of us are much more insecure, dare I say. I'm going to use a great example, right? And I used it. I'm not going to talk about my brother's names, but I used it to give it there, right? At our first event, when we really got it popping, it might have been a year ago, right? When we were at a restaurant, it was 10 brothers out with us. You know, at that time when you go out and you got a nice sized party and everybody's eating, when we had the party and the event, what I did was that I made sure to put everything on one check. I'm gonna give you free game right here. This is game time. Catch that off the backboard. That hezzy layup I'm about to give you. When you go out in the group, ladies and gentlemen, put it on one card. When you put it on that one card, make your guests Cash App you or Apple Pay you. When you go to your waiter, you tell them waive the gratuity card, the charge, and we're going to Cash App you directly. What does it make them do? Would they rather have a smaller tip from each individual, or would they rather receive a rather large tip from the big crowd they got? Here we have in theory. If you have 10 people in your group, right? And you have one big check, say the check is $200, right? 10% of 200 is $20, right? Or you can get each one of us to Cash App you directly $7. That's $70. Which one they jumping on? They jumping on that $70 tip. I tip a little bit more. try to look out for them a little bit more, right? To make sure they feel appreciated and they feel loved. The reason why you do that is, number one, you earn the trust of your brothers, right? Number two, you want to get a level of seamlessly moving in the right direction, right? No matter what the restaurant is. Let's get away from everybody giving something. Hey, you pay me, we make it easier. Number one, that's trust you got to give. When I did that, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't even think about me not getting paid. And I didn't even caution my mom because I've always been around us and we always look out for each other. But when I compared to my city brothers, they were very much thrown back by the gesture I did. They were like, "Oh, real man, you shouldn't do that. You gonna put yourself in a bind where somebody don't pay." I'm like, "Y'all, I'm gonna go collect the cash app right now." My mind doesn't even naturally go there. But you know what that taught me is that, there has been a level of trust the way I grew up in a small town environment that most city Black Americans are infused with not to do that. You are taught if you live in a metropolitan city as Black, you're most likely separated. Yes, there may be a population of 100,000, but what about in your town, your school, and your community? How many schools do you go to where you see that? How many actual connected events do you feel in contact with? Or are you on the north side, they on the west side, I'm on the east side, but we have a population of 10,000. But is that population of 10,000 in a condensed area, or is it spread out? But let me keep going on my story. I did that, no problem. My boys were blown away. They were like, "Man, ain't no way. I never thought about it." And in that moment, I had to pause. I had to pause and say, if I was in a company event and I was around other people, would you think that way? If I was around a certain other group of people that were working class gentlemen like ours, would you even think or act like that? And on another note, if you didn't pay back or do that, it shows me your character. So in my eyes, it's a win-win regardless. Why you say it like that? Because in actuality, I'm checking the character of my people. If I have to tell you that we go out and a brother covers the main invoice and I have to tell you to pay him back in a certain manner and you don't do it, is that a negative for me or for you? In that moment, you show me who you are. Now that I know who you are, you can't pull the wool over my eyes. Now, if you would have came to me from the beginning and saying I might not have had it, I'm in a struggle point, do you mind covering me? Of course, bro, because we talked about it. But if you just didn't pay your boy as he covered it at that moment, check to me. I ain't got to make it a big deal. I ain't even got to tell everybody what's going on. But the only thing that lets me know is that qualifies you. Both of those situations to me are win-win. To my city Black Americans, it was different. They were so throwed off, y'all. It was such a huge deal. And negotiation is not something regularly done. I'm going to tell you why. When I meet my waiter, my waitresses, or I'm out and I'm with my people, I'm not negotiating at Black restaurants. I mostly don't do that. But at the big restaurants, I'm asking for a discount to real. I'm asking for a deal. Why wouldn't I? They didn't do it to us. They don't compensate us. Everywhere I go, I'm trying to see if I can get something from large corporations. There is no loyalty. At a small mom and pop business, I'm afraid. No questions asked. At a large corporation, I need all the discounts I can get. Half price, whatever price, you figure it out. Why? That is the difference. And as I break down those differences, y'all, I had to learn, where did it come through to start with from the beginning? Oh, many of them, us, are disconnected. I'm going to show you what I mean. Dating is trash. Nobody knows how to talk anymore. Everybody's all about social media. Does it sound familiar? You know the one thing I noticed? The people that say that, when they They don't communicate. They don't talk. They don't laugh. They don't joke. They don't build with their peers when they're out. They're in their phones too. I tell people this all the time, right, ladies and gentlemen? Going personal. I have not had a TV in my bedroom ever. What do you mean you got a TV in your bedroom? I have a TV in my living room, but in my bedroom, in my other rooms in my house, I never had one. We never had one growing up like that. I was reading or music or writing. That was what I had. If you look around this room right here, there's no TVs in here. I don't think I've watched a long TV show by myself in years. I don't know why. We never really had TV and stuff like that. My parents emphasized going out and building connection skills. I think that's why socially now I thrive. But I can tell the difference that if you grew up in a city with abundance and affluence, socially, you struggle. You can't be in a room where it's just you and that individual, no cell phone, and y'all just talk. Because at the end of the day, most stuff that's accessible is online, but our relationships are in person. In person, you got to be able to have unhealthy conversations. In person, you got to be transparent. In person, you got to be honest. In person, you got to be good. That's the hardest thing to be, y'all, because it takes time. It takes time for you to develop those relationship muscles to be good in person. It takes time for you to work on that. It takes time for you to know that you must continue to invest and get better. None of that stuff I just mentioned is overnight. None of that stuff is sexy, quick fix, can be changed quickly. It takes time, energy, and effort. The city Black Americans don't want to do that most of the time because they're used to being convenience. The country boys have had to do that, have had to be naturally good in multiple things, have had to use the resources because they like thereof. As a city, as a country guy living in a city, I see the difference. I see it. It is so entrenched in us that many people will overlook it. How do I solve it, King? You know, you talking about the bad thing about it. How do I solve these problems that we see with the country versus the city guys? All right. Let me solve it for you. Step one, kill the ego. Remove the ego. Throw it away. I don't care what your economic status is. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care how good you are. You must understand we are all people. With you being all people, with us all having our own issues, you must understand ain't nobody better than nobody else. There's nobody here more valuable than anybody else. There's nobody here that is worth more, that can do more. There's only people. And once you realize that there's only people, your mind will be able to open up to realize that everybody you meet has value. Let me keep going. Everyone has value. The homeless people, street ninjas, the scammers, the ideologists, the fighters, the uneducated, all have a value. It is up to you to figure out how they can be valuable to you and what you got going on. Everything as a country boy is valuable. We don't waste nothing. No bread corners, no food, no crust, no banana peels. Everything must be recycled and reused again to help another part of the farm, the community, the Grove Garden, whatever. We don't waste anything. Step one, everything has to be resourceful. Step two, everything has to be resourceful. Step three, it is your job to figure out how it can be resourceful. Step four, once you figure out how it can be resourceful, how do you duplicate it? I know these banana peels can be used in water to help hydrate some of my plants. Okay, we don't throw them away, we keep them. I realize these shavings from these onions can be used to make granite and make my onion powder. We save them. Okay, I realize the droppings of the seeds could be replanted to grow more fruit. Okay, we save them. We replant it. Everything must be reused. Everything. Nothing is a waste. Everything has to be resourceful. Everything has to be reused. Everything has its own value intact to it. Make sure you figure out a way to reuse it, retool it, regather it, and replant that evidence. Step number 5. Once you understand that everybody has its imperfections, be willing, open, and be willing to help. The gap that I see is the biggest part in Black America that is undertold right now is the city Black Americans that's doing a great migration patterns, that's moved to the bigger cities that were smaller town people that move versus the country folks. That's what I see the heart of a lot of problems we see right now. City Black Americans versus the country Black Americans. It's no divide. It's just the roots of how we are missing. And that's where we see a lot of the uncertainty, discrepancies, and other issues coming around. Keep on closing down my closing thoughts on that subject. We're going to finish that gap. Our group in Houston is going to figure out how we close it with Brothers Specific. Once we figure it out, we want to add, multiply, rinse, wash, repeat. Let's keep going. Right now, I want to go ahead and do something I haven't done in a while. People asked me last time. We already talked about presidential election, politics. I want to go into a subject that I believe is very impactful, y'all. And this video was titled, I can't remember the group of what they were talking about, right? Is that the group, right? It is a very powerful video. The video clip came from when this gentleman broke down the subject of provision. Why is provision a powerful subject, King Crowder? Number one, I grew up in a family where I didn't about wealth, right? However, I understood what value place. Hold on, let me let it go. Let me turn on my music right quick, y'all, so y'all can hear it better. A little toxic. This is actually funny. It's another video, but I'm gonna catch my boy right quick so you can hear it.
Your friends be lying to you and hide behind these catchphrases. I'm gonna tell you what it really means so you can clock them next time. He was.
That's different. That's a different one. That's a different one. I feel her. She was fire. But this video, I'm gonna let it play. The truth about provision.
Provision is not money. Provision is infrastructure. If a man has the ability, the mind, the mental sharpness, and the fortitude to come into your life and provide real infrastructure, then he is a provider. There are seasons in a person's life where they 50 might not look like half the bills, but if he shows up in other ways to supplement and make it make sense, you got to understand that. And I'm sorry, ladies, I'm not sending this as a shot to discourage you, sending it as a shot to wake up. If the only thing you know of provision is a paycheck, then you know nothing of it. If that's what you think a man being a provider is, you have no clue what a real provider is supposed to do. That's why so many kept women are lonely.
And I wanted to use that first clip, man, because I thought it was very powerful, y'all. I always talk my father openly with my peoples, right? My friends, everybody, because I understand how pivotal Black fathers and Black families were. My mother and my father did a great job raising us. What do you mean they did a great job? With their limited whatever they had, they did a great job giving us a foundation. What else could you want? A lot of us want our parents to do this and do that. They couldn't afford to do that, but that's okay to me. They gave us a great foundation to be great people. My father showed me what a man was. He showed me what good work ethic was. He showed me the value of getting up. He showed me the value of leading, the value of keeping your word, the value of being ambitious, the value of smart, the value of being respectful, the value of being a good quality person. My dad took time to show me and my brothers what manhood was about. He didn't have his father to teach that, but he taught it to us. What I love about that video is my father would not be able to date right now if we had to go by those same standards. He didn't have the money like that. But what he had was a provider. You know what I love? The first thing he said that I love, and I make okay money, y'all. I do all right, right? Upper middle class, whatever you want to call it. I provide leadership, structure, guidance, happiness, love, all of that. But my dad did too. From a much better level than me, I think. My dad provided excellent structure, excellent leadership, excellent guidance, excellent understanding, excellent emotional connection, excellent fortitude, excellent listening, extra guidance. But his financial providing step was not the best. You know what that showed me right there? You could be A+ in every other category and a C in what they consider the most, which honestly is level 5 or 6, and you couldn't date. Think about that for a second. The man that created me, who did it and imprinted on me what manhood is, and I have major influence among other men about what manhood is, couldn't date. He couldn't date in our climate today because it's in the standard. They will say to him, you don't qualify to date because you don't have this certain amount of money. You don't have this. Whack. We out of whack. We out of scope. We out of circumference. There's a book written by Shahrazad Ali, man. It's the greatest book I've ever read about dating. The Black Man's Guide to Understand a Black Woman, and they also had the Black Woman's Guide to Understand a Black Man. She narrows down all of these things. The number one thing she narrowed down was that how money Black men have never had it long term. We haven't. But how many of us have been the best and most involved fathers? So let me get this straight. Best fathers, most involved, most thoughtful, most willing to learn, want to teach, help, and be helpful. But he's still ain't a good dude. What it takes to be a good parent, ladies and gentlemen, is a provider of leadership, structure, guidance, emotional capability, emotional substance, and to guide your relationship. Because we got to understand, if you don't have that, you're either raising a child, maintaining one. Let me say it again. Are you raising your child or are you maintaining your child? Maintaining it is a roof, infrastructure, food, stable home. Raising it is emotional intelligence. Invest in time, invest in quality, invest in understanding, invest in multiple things. That's the difference between raising your children up. That's what she was speaking of. My father raised us up. That's why I have the confidence, the understanding as a man today. You know how many brothers struggle with that because they don't have that? And the reason why this video hit home so much to me is because everything is about money. Money is important, y'all. I am not an anti-money guy. As a guy that makes good money, I understand the importance of it. As a guy that does well in every facet of his life, I understand the importance of it. But for the brothers that do not do as well, I think it's a travesty that we say they cannot date these times. Because my father is those guys. Think about that for a second. I am a product of them. They are a producer of me. I don't care what your money is, what your status is. If a brother has the wherewithal, the attitude, the personality to create and build a family, he should have one. He should. And we're at a point in his life where we're telling brothers, nah, you can't. Bro, you can't. We're saying to them, bro, you can't. You can't have a family. You can't do certain things because you don't qualify. We don't. That is the most eye-opening thing that we don't understand growing up, right? We don't. So the next awesome video that was shown to me, y'all, before I go ahead and keep rapping things. I'm sorry, y'all. I just noticed one man comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. So happy for my people rocking. We kind of all right in here. We 13 deep. I'm 13 of y'all, man. I'm happy for my slow and steady growth. I am not somebody to say I should be having thousands of millions, man. What I want to do is continue to grow slowly. I want my value to be seen and given. I want what I to be doing to be long and sustaining. What I want to do is continue to give things that I think are powerful so that you start your week off right, that you learn, that you grow, and that you understand. And that video I was going to show you was my second video, y'all. I'm going to see if I can break it down to you 1 second. It's about a young lady right here with the nose ring. You know, I'm not too much of a fan of a nose ring, girl. I ain't gonna fry. I ain't a fan of it, but you know, it is what it is, right? I mean, she got it. As long as her man like it, that's all that matters, right?
Next time. He wasn't vulnerable enough because he didn't trauma dump on her within the first.
Provision
Hold
is
on.
not
Lord.
money. Provision is
I understand. We just went over provision. What provision was. Let me go ahead and go back to my girl's video. You know, sometimes TikTok be tripping, y'all. It's actually my laptop. I'm upgrading it soon, y'all. That's my next big step. I move is to upgrade my mic and my laptop. I got them coming soon, y'all, for my live people. I do. So, got it coming in. What she's talking about is people relationships. I'm gonna let it go again.
My mother couldn't teach me the difference between children who come from love and children who don't come from love. That's the difference in the black community. The ones who come from love, once they start hanging with the ones who don't come from love, they'll become victims and prey if they don't begin to behave like the ones who don't come from love. The kid who's in the house getting abused and beat by a grown person, an elder, a kid who's not getting beat, when them two fight, the kid who's not getting beat don't stand a chance. He's never been hit that hard before. So when you start looking at the backgrounds of niggas who can fight and dangerous and violent niggas, they was people who was abused. And they've been taking their pain out. So they've been learning how to hurt people because they've been getting hurt. That's where some of the most dangerous niggas in the communities come from being hurt as kids. I'm a kid been trying to fit in with kids that's been getting hurt.
My bad on that, y'all. The live went off for me. I actually hit my internet. With that previous video, y'all, is many of us come from very traumatic situations. Many of us do. I lost all my people, y'all. That drop. Hopefully it reconnects and gathers everything again. But many of us come from very traumatic situations. We do. And in that video, what he's speaking about is that the lack of individuality most of us have. Most of us do not have an understanding to know that how we grew up in your story is completely fine. Recreating and making up a story and trying to be this is going to hurt you long term. Having your own story, your own consciousness, your own love, your own understanding is you. But when you try to recreate, remix it, people know. People know. You know the one thing that is missing so much among black people, y'all, that we used to have back in the day that right now is not true? Authenticity. Many of us are not authentic. Many of us make stuff up. Many of us don't like to keep it 100. Many of us would rather not tell the truth and withhold some information rather than just keeping it real. Many of us would rather not be ourselves, truly who we are, and act like we rich. Act like we got it. Act like I'm that guy. It is such an uncomfortable feeling for many of us to say, hey, I had to ride the bus for 10 years. I did. My people don't have money. I was a first generation, whatever you want to call it, college student, college graduate. I was. I didn't know what I was doing while I was at Hampton. I didn't know what classes were school, what to do. I just had to figure out as I went. I didn't have nobody to really rely on. I remember when I had people that was going to look out for me outside of my immediate family that said they were going to look out for me and never did. I didn't know once I went to school that I would have family members that I thought they were tight with me, look at me and switch up on me because there was a level of competition that I didn't know. I didn't know that. And it's such an uncommon thing for people to be honest about stuff that you see it. When people are so dishonest about your situation, where you come from or what you're doing, it's noticeable. It's noticeable, y'all. And it's so noticeable and it's such a big deal and it's such a big thing that it affects how you connect. Having your own story, it's a pop and collar moment. Your story has to be unique to you and what you did. Once you have your own story, you have your own badge of honor. Once you got to switch it up and say I was this and I was that and I was a trench baby, I came from my parents and fathers. Now, was I still around the streets? Of course. Was my pop still a street nigga? Of course. Did I have street things going on at the time? Of course. I ain't bragging about it. I ain't proud that some of my folks had to go to jail. I ain't proud that my pops had to do this and do that. I know what I am. But you know where you get more respect from? When you embrace it. Just because I was like that don't mean I'm not still a street guy that has influence and have love that way. No, sir. I still got love that way. I'm still tapped in. I'm still connected. I still got the understanding. I still got the embracing. I do. You know why? Because I ain't making up nothing. In this day and time, y'all, people would rather make up something to make themselves appear better than be who they are. I ain't rich yet. See, I caught that yet, right? When I'm working and trying to get myself an aspirational ways to get there. All my stuff ain't together. I'm still figuring out and learning as I go. Yes, that's my journey. Highlighting, emphasizing, doing, and welcoming your journey. That's how you're going to be better. Nobody cannot recreate and be who you are, ladies and gentlemen. You can only be you. And once you are you, once you have your own story, your own message, that's how you grow and that's how you connect. Man, tonight's live was fun. Remember, God forgives, Trump don't. And as we talk about this thing in the process, I want y'all to understand the world is different now. Politics, Bronny James, city folk versus country folk, fatherhood, TikTok, and other videos. It's your boy, King Crowder. Checking back in with you again with another edition of Live on Sunday. Share from it. Please do. Share. Comment. Tell me how you feel. Just like it, heart it, whatever you want. Tell me what you think. It's crazy, y'all. September will be my year anniversary for trying to go lives. Do y'all believe that? For me doing all my thumbnails, doing all these things. So my upgrades are on the way. Yes, they on the way. I'm continuing to self-improve myself. I'm going to continue to get this thing. Why? Because I enjoy this. I enjoy it. I enjoy teaching, having a class, educating, putting my people on game. That's what I like to do. I'm not doing it. Of course, you will want to get paid one day, of course, right? But that's not what gets me up and gets me focused. What gets me up and gets me focused is knowing that I'm helping somebody. So I'm gonna help you, you help me, and we're gonna help each other. Tonight's class is a teaching moment on politics, relationships, nepotism, Black Americans, fatherhood, relationships, how things will potentially be. Thank you for staying with me with this crazy live section. I dropped and lost everybody, but it's okay, man. I loved it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure you tell everybody you are part of the Crowder Gang. Make sure you share the footage. Make sure you share the information. And most importantly, tap in with me. I want to thank y'all for watching me. I want to thank y'all for tuning in with me on the vibes, on the information, on the knowledge, on the live. I want to love you. For your work week, stay safe, stay in tune, look at your midterms, call your people, check on your family. Know that if you don't show love, you ain't get it back in return. It's your boy King Crowder. Peace.